Mayor, I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Elmwood Park Mayor and Council for September 15, 2011 to order at 8 p.m. On roll call, Councilmember Giovanni.
Present.
Castiglia is absent. He's on vacation. Conwood.
Here.
Lewinsky.
Here.
Work.
Here.
Monsino.
Here.
Mayor Hall.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Will everyone please rise for the flag salute? With God our Father, we ask you to bless our meeting, which we trust to your fatherly care and protection. Please remove all selfishness and prejudice from our hearts and plant therein a keen sense of justice and a great love for you, our neighbor. Guide us in our deliberations so our decisions will displease you and bring peace and happiness to our community. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Whereas Chapter 231, the Public Laws of the State of New Jersey requires the commencement of each meeting stated by the presiding officer, now therefore be advised that the meeting requirements of this meeting have been met by publishing unanimous notice in the Record of Hackensack and Herald News of Woodland Park by posting such notice in the office of the Borough Clerk as well as the public place within the municipal building and by notifying interested citizens. Said notice is posted on January 1, 2011. This council meeting is being videoed. It will be on channel 77. Thank you. This video is on channel 77. It will be on Tuesday at 12 noon, Thursday at 4 p.m., and Friday at 11 a.m. Tuesday at noon, Thursday at 4 p.m., Friday at 11 a.m.
Mayor, this evening under the approval of minutes, we have a regular meeting of August 18, 2012.
Motion, please. Mrs. Monsino, second.
Second.
Mr. Word, any discussion? Call the roll, please.
On roll call, Councilmember Giovanni.
Yes.
Castiglia is absent. Conwood.
Yes.
Lewinsky.
Yes.
Work.
Yes.
Monsino.
Yes.
Motion carries. Mayor, number 5 on the agenda, we have a presentation of school taxes by Chief Financial Officer Gordon Day.
Well, you might have to speak into the microphone just a little.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Working?
I was asked by the Mayor and Council to present the detailed tax bill that went out to the residents 3 weeks ago. The average increase is as follows. For the municipal, your tax bill went up $66 for the year. For the school, it went up $116. And the county, because our assessments are now in line at close to 100% ratio, they actually went down $10 per household. The actual increase is $172 on a $350,000 tax bill. We had quite a lengthy discussion back in April with the Mayor and Council in reference to cutting our budget because the school board had some type of information that went to the public that basically said the school district was going to come in at a zero tax increase. The actual tax increase is $541,600 this year. The municipal tax increase is $300,000 this year. If you take your tax bill and you look at it, which I have 2 bills that I'd like to give to the press later on, it's an actual bill from 2010 to 2011 that in fact shows these increases. My final comment is the actual ratio right now is out of the entire tax bill, the municipal levy is 31%, the school is 57%, and the county is 9.5%. The last comment is the library tax. There's been questions about all of a sudden it's now a tax on the library. That is not true. What the governor has mandated through legislation is that the tax bill now becomes transparent, meaning the actual library, which was always embedded in the municipal local levy, is now broken out on the tax bill. That has always been there. But now we are portraying it and showing it as a line item on the tax bill itself.
Any questions?
What was the percentage for library bills?
On the library, 1.5%.
Just want to make a note that the public wasn't aware of it. Any municipal free library, we've been paying into for many years. Under the law, we have to get a certain, 1/3 of the assessed mill of the actual town per year, which amounts to about, in our books, almost $800,000 a year right now.
That's right.
There's some legislation on the books by Senator Joe and Governor Christie down there to cut that in half right now, because they're seeing the route libraries are taking. And we want to close it, but to bring in line a little bit with your taxes, how about your taxes? And I know you're reading in the press a lot of things about libraries and e-books and everything else, so that's why the government put it on bill this year, so you're aware of it.
Any time?
Mr. McDonald, when you say this percentage here, you talk about fiscal year, you figure out, or this is
Yes, this is on a calendar year. However, the school is on a fiscal year from July 1st to June 30th. However, when you take your actual tax bill that is reconciled for the third and fourth quarter of this year, that does coincide with the school, because you still have to give that money over to the school district. It still comes out to $29,579,763. That is the actual 2011 portion of taxes certified by the state of New Jersey and the County Board of Taxation. That increase is $540,000.
Any other questions?
Yes, Mayor, I just want to, make a couple of questions here. As Mr. Rigatano has gone through this and explained a lot of things, it has caused some discussion in town, whether at the Board of Ed meetings. Some of us attended some of those. Councilman Chewinski's been at quite a few of them, and I've been at some of the presentations over the new proposed referendum, the 19-something million referendum with the interest. We're looking at about 24 million, on top of about 40 million still outstanding on the current referendum. But, if I'm not mistaken, this was almost a full-page ad that was taken out in the community news, Mr. Rigatano, I believe you've seen this. It says that it's a 0% increase for the 11-12 school year. And there was also about a 12-page questionnaire also sent out. And what I find interesting is, I understand that at one of the recent Board of Ed meetings, it was implied that you're taxing up on the school because our borough failed to collect enough taxes. Mr. Rigatano, right now, what is our tax rate?
The actual collection rate in Oak Park is at 97%, and it's possibly even greater. I can give you the actual financial statement tomorrow morning that was completed. We also have a reserve fund collected tax, which brings us to 100%.
Right.
So there is no cash deficit whatsoever in the municipality.
So when I read this and I look at this page of this 12-page, question and answer that was sent out to the public, question 10, what is the tax increase for an average home? The answer is, since the 2011-2012 school district budget did not increase the local tax levy, there will be no increase in your local taxes related to the Elmwood Park Public Schools. Your property taxes may still increase due to the Borough of Elmwood Park municipal and Bergen County budgets. I want to also make a note of it. I think our CFO alluded to it. At some point, after this information was shared with the borough and the residents, again, I think this was the full-page ad that appeared in the community news. We also went back and sharpened our pencils. And when you think about it, we actually brought ours down another 200,000. The county was coming in, actually the county came in negative, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
So they came in negative. We got ours down to $16.97 a quarter based on a house assessed at, I believe, $339,000. So $17 hardly, let's say. We cut out, and then we went back to our department heads. And anyone can come up tonight and speak at this podium or at the next meeting or any meetings for the next 2 years that I'm here. we actually are running the most slimmest budget ever. I think that's almost fair to say. Mayor, you've been here for quite a few budgets, and some of the other council members. And we went back and cut out, based on that information, we actually went back and cut out another $200,000 for all of us here, all of the taxpayers. So, I want to thank you for coming, Mr. Rigatano. Hopefully, this will disperse any rumors that the tax for the school did not go up, and it had nothing to do with us, because they actually went up over $500,000. Thank you.
Any other comments? If I could just jump in there and just indicate that I think it was 2003, we had the first referendum, and the community must pay $2 million a year to pay that off. And that doesn't get paid off until 2029. And we presently owe approximately $40 million.
With the grant, the actual dollars that are owed is $27,482,000 as of January 1st this year. The actual referendum is $45 million. However, there was a grant of $15 million. The actual debt that was incurred that the taxpayers of Elmwood Park have to pay back up to 2030, the principal is $31,482,000. The interest is approximately $19 million. The total debt service is $50,617,284. Comes to roughly $300 a year in taxes.
Thank you. I'd just like to make one other comment. When you receive your sample ballots for the November elections, any year, not only this year, but past or future, and they have questions on the bottom, and they say, would you like to be fixing the roads? Would you like to be fixing the bridges? Would you like to build this? Would you like to build something else? And you say, yes, I'd like to do that. And you vote yes. Before you vote yes, find out how much it's going to cost. Somebody's got to pay for that. And the state is usually the one with the county who does that. So be aware of how much these things are going to cost before you just say yes. And if you say yes and you have no one to blame, you approve. Okay?
Mayor, I have one more question, Mr. Rigatano.
Yes.
Before we want to be back here, in the event we do get a $24 million referendum increase in the school budget, in today's tax dollars, what does that translate to the $330,000 house?
Okay.
Roughly. It's not gonna hold
If
you.
it's a $20 million payout over 15 years, the actual payout on $20 million will be $25,950,000 with interest. The average home will pay $347 in the first year, and it will decline down to $217 on the 15th year.
So, what, 1 through 10 years, will be 300 range, or is it go up?
You'll be at the $300 a month on top of what we have now.
Thank you.
Oh, and you have to take into consideration that nothing else goes wrong. And if not a referendum or something else, or
Thank you. Any other questions? No. Thank you, Mr. Rigatano.
Thank you.
Mr. Caswell?
The open this up to the public?
No, not now.
Mr.
Do
Rigatano?
you have any questions you can ask him?
Now or later?
Later.
Oh, you staying?
No, he's not saying he has another meeting. Thank you.
Mayor, this evening under ordinances on second reading, we have resolution 248-11, introduced ordinance 11-11 on second reading. Whereas public notice has been given by the borough clerk that the ordinance entitled bond ordinance to amend section 3 of bond ordinance 06-27 for the 2006 road program in the amount of $323,000. Whereas said ordinance was introduced and passed at a meeting held on August 18, 2011, and that further consideration of this ordinance will be taken up at this meeting. And whereas all persons interested in said ordinance will be given the opportunity to be heard concerning same, now therefore be it resolved by the mayor and council of the borough of Elmwood Park that an ordinance entitled bond ordinance to amend section 3 of the bond ordinance 06-27 for the 2006 road program in the amount of $323,000 passed on final reading. Mayor, we need to open this up to the public.
Could you just explain the 2006?
Yes, Mayor, this bond ordinance was left over from 2006. There was a balance contained in this ordinance. Last year, we utilized those remaining dollars to apply to the 2010 road resurfacing program. So we utilized dollars that we had previously bonded for, and now we're just doing cleanup work for bond counsel in order for them to process the bond.
Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on this? If not, I'll close the public portion. May I have a motion, please? Mr. Bonzino? Second. Mr. Word, discussion? Call the roll.
On roll call, council members Catalano. Yes. Castiglione, absent Conboy.
Yes.
Kaminsky.
Yes.
Work.
Yes.
Alcino. Yes. Motion carries. Mayor, also on second reading this evening, the resolution 249-11, introduce ordinance 11-12 on second reading. Whereas public notice has been given by the Borough Clerk that an ordinance entitled an ordinance to amend the Code of the Borough of Elmwood Park entitled Administration, specifically ordinance 2-1.1 entitled Organization of the Governing Body, and ordinance 2-2.1 entitled Organization of Council Meetings thereof, and whereas said ordinance was introduced and passed at a meeting held on Thursday, August 18, 2011, and that further consideration of this ordinance will be taken up at this meeting. And whereas all persons interested in said ordinance were given the opportunity to be heard concerning the same, and therefore be resolved that the mayor and council of the Borough of Elmwood Park that an ordinance entitled an ordinance to amend the Code of the Borough of Elmwood Park entitled Administration, and specifically ordinance 2-1.1 entitled Organization of the Governing Body, and ordinance 2-2.1 entitled Organization of Council Meetings thereof, pass on final reading.
Would you explain that, please?
Yes, Mayor. This ordinance is bringing the borough into compliance with the governor's best practices checklist. Two of the questions that are asked of municipalities based on that checklist include whether or not the municipality requires newly elected council members and or newly elected mayors to attend any type of require any attendance at training classes to familiarize them with local government. The second ordinance is relative to attendance at governing body meetings and whether or not there's a mechanism in place if we have an elected official who is out and absent without a valid excuse, the process to remove that individual by the remaining member of the governing body.
Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard? If not, I'll close the public portion. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Mr. Conboy? Mr. Bonzino, any discussion? This is just keeping in compliance with the governor's mandates. Call the roll.
Roll call, council members Carmine. Yes. Castiglione is absent. Conboy.
Yes.
Kowinski.
Yes.
Work.
Yes.
Alcino. Yes. Resolution 250-11 introduced, ordinance 11-13 on second reading. Whereas public notice has been given by the Borough Clerk that an ordinance entitled an ordinance to amend the Borough Code of the Borough of Elmwood Park entitled Personnel Policies, whereas said ordinance was introduced and passed at a meeting held on Thursday, August 18, 2011, and that further consideration of this ordinance will be taken up at this meeting. And whereas all persons interested in said ordinance were given the opportunity to be heard concerning the same, and therefore be resolved by the mayor and council of the Borough of Elmwood Park that an ordinance entitled an ordinance to amend the Code of the Borough of Elmwood Park entitled Personnel Policies pass on final reading.
This is basically the same, we're just catching up with what the governor has just given us to do. And anyone in the audience wishes to be heard? If not, I'll close the public portion. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Conboy, second.
Second.
Mr. Word, any discussion? Call the roll.
Roll call, council members Carmine. Yes. Castiglione is absent. Conboy.
Yes.
Kowinski.
Yes.
Work. Yes. Alcino.
Yes.
Motion carries. Mayor, this evening under the consent agenda, we have resolution 251-11, payment of bills, resolution 252-11, confirmation of checks, resolution 253-11, confirmation of payroll, resolution 254-11, redeem third-party tax lien, resolution 255-11, redeem third-party tax lien, resolution 256-11, redeem third-party tax lien, resolution 257-11, appoint volunteer firefighter to Company 3, Anthony Del Rosso. Resolution 258-11, release road opening bond. Resolution 259-11, release cash landscape bond for $500. Resolution 260-11, release cash landscape bond. Resolution 261-11, authorize stipulation of settlement with Oil North America. Resolution 262-11, refund overpayment for recreation after school program. Resolution 263-11, my representative and alternate to the Bergen County Open Space Trust Fund Municipal Program Regional Subcommittee. Resolution 264-11, approve submission of a grant application to the New Jersey Department of Transportation for the improvements to Molnar Drive, Section 2. Resolution 265-11, authorize the submission of a grant application to the Bergen County Open Space Program, endorsing playground equipment requested by the 16th Avenue Parent-teacher organization. Resolution 266-11, request Bergen County Board of Chosen Freeholders to turn the parkland along Slidell Avenue over to the Borough Common Park. Resolution 267-11, support Chamber of Commerce program to place recycling receptacles in designated locations throughout the borough.
Motion, please. Mrs. Monsino, second.
Second.
Mr. Ward, any discussion? Call the roll, please.
On roll call, Councilmember Scarpelli.
Yes and all, then accept, I see, resolution 265-11. That has to do with, board of education.
Councilman Chair, vote no or an abstention?
Call the roll.
Councilman Castiglione is absent. Councilmembers Conway.
Yes.
Jaworski.
Yes.
Work. Yes. Paulson. Yes. Motion on the consent agenda is adopted. And Mayor, finally, we have applications for the American Legion Post 147-5050 and the American Legion Post 147-B for calendar years 2011 to 2000.
We need a motion on that? Raise your hand.
Need a motion.
Motion, please. So, Mr. Monsino, second.
Second.
Mr. Ward. Discussion. Mr. Ward.
Yep. You got the buzzer.
Call the roll.
On roll call, Councilmember Scarpelli.
Yes.
Castiglione is absent. Conway.
Yes.
Jaworski.
Yes.
Work. Yes. Paulson.
Yes.
Motion on the applications. Mayor, we do not have any departmental reports this evening.
Okay. Committee reports, Mr. Kevin.
Yes, you know, the school started, the schools are really clean, we have a nice discipline, the halls are really quiet, the kids are great. Remember the time? Really punishment for teachers. I have much classes, kids are cooperating, so all the spaces. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jaworski.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. First of all, I'd like to congratulate the fire department on the fine job they did in the 9/11 memorial. On our drive, that the piece of steel we received was unveiled. Our mayor was there, and Councilman Monsino, and Larry, myself, and the chairman of the Free Home Board stopped down to say a few words. Keeper, I'm sorry. It was a good showing by the public and supported that. There will be plaques put on there, some notation about the 9/11. Next thing I'd like to tell you about is the fire department is having a fire one exam on September 20th for any interested new fire members, and also on November 20th to be a level 200 exam. October 9th coming up is Fire Prevention Week. It happens to be on Columbus Day. They will put it off until the next day to start of that fire prevention. I attended the county planning board again, just to let you know that they are working on this year's budget, next year's budget already right as we speak, to bring it negative again, bringing taxes down even further. And I hope our council and school boards and everybody else can come along in the same direction. Last note, I'd like to say that the Board of Education meeting, I think, is next Tuesday, and it's time for people to get out and voice their opinion on the school referendum that's coming up to look at the plans. I have been outspoken, not in favor, but I do say we have rec programs that can cover most of these sports programs. I have some unanswered questions, and I will be present at those meetings, but I would appreciate if the public has any interest. Now's the time to come out and vote if you're for or against. Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Monsino.
Let's start with the ambulance corps on October 30th and 31st. They're having their annual haunted house. I believe that's a Saturday, a Sunday and a Monday. More information on specific times at our next meeting. Just mark your calendars and do a great job. We have read in community news this week. Police department had another checkpoint on 246. They made 13 arrests for DWI and possession of controlled dangerous substance. If you know the article, all those arrests were out of town folks. So our department did a very good job cutting down these bad actors that are going through our community and commend them. Another note about the police department, they were up at our work meeting a couple of weeks ago, and they shared with us some details of some investigations they were doing over the summer. But what's interesting to note is they established a relationship with local, state, and federal law enforcement officers that were collaborating on a number of investigations, to the fact that they were invited to present a case study of one of their investigations in New York City at the New York Drug Terrorism Task Force. That's quite an honor for our department, and our chief and a number of members went out to do that presentation. And it was a very thorough presentation, in fact. And finally, I'd like to also note the memorial dedication that the fire department held over the weekend on Saturday. The dedication of the memorial serves as a reminder of what we lost 10 years ago on September 11th, how we changed as a nation, and how we must never forget what happened.
Thank you. Mr. Convoy.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I'd just like to start with, prior to the storm warnings that were coming, I would just like to commend all of our borough employees, and every one of them, all of our department heads. They met a good week and a half, if not more, in preparation. There were several meetings, even prior to the morning the storm would start. There was a meeting here at Borough Hall with many all in attendance. And they strategically went over every step. They even had Plan A, Plan B, Plan C, so that whatever the storm would bring us, they would be prepared for every type of thing that could go wrong. They were all well, they all worked excellent together, as they always do, but on those kind of situations, we all know, we've all been in those situations, tensions run high, some tempers too sometimes, but I got to tell you, what I witnessed out there, as well as some of the other councilmen that were out the next morning, that Sunday morning, they were all tired, we're all working together, and whatever the storm threw at them, they did everything they could to minimize the exposure to our residents. So I just want to congratulate all of them because they never stopped even the days after the storm. If you saw our DPW superintendent or any of our police personnel or our clerk or anyone, you can tell by the black circles under their eyes, they really need a chance to sleep. So I think all of you, a lot of time our police departments take a lot of abuse from some of our residents, sometimes maybe rightfully so, or they get followed, or whatever. But they certainly did a phenomenal job that day. And the great thing out of it is, what followed was to get ready to correct the steps that maybe we weren't, any curveballs or so forth that may have come out of that. We are already creating action steps to take place to correct anything for the future if we should ever receive a storm like that. I know I spoke to a lot of residents. Some called my home, some went to go visit that Sunday morning after the recreation center had to be open in case of for one family that needed to be, just one woman who needed to be taken there. I've been living in my home over 16 years. I've been blessed. I've never gotten water. I got water. My neighbors, like myself, have never gotten water. They got water. The water table is just so high, folks. I know you've all heard this. You don't need me to repeat it all, but we all, almost everybody got something somewhere. So I hope everybody is making through that fine. So again, I just want to thank the town, all of our personnel, and everybody for that. Again, I'd like to commend our fire department and all of the volunteers who helped the memorial get erected over on the Fireman's Monument. It looks wonderful. If you had a chance to stop by and see it, please do. Stop, give a little prayer, whatever. It was a beautiful job done. On the recreation side, I just like to thank all of our parents and families who did utilize our summer camp at the recreation center. We have already started creating new ideas. Unfortunately, since this competition in town, I don't want to share those just yet with you. I don't want to give our competition a leg up, but we've got a lot of great ideas planned for next year that I think will become, some things we want to incorporate, will become a more friendlier type camps for our parents, our families, in the way it's going to be laid out, and financially how it's going to be laid out. So I think that's going to be a huge plus. I'd like to thank all the residents who took advantage of the spray grounds this season. Last season we started opening it 2 nights, 1 night, 2 nights a week, open later. This year we expanded that. Next year, it feels like it's going to be probably every day, because at nights there was anywhere from 15 to 20 people in the spray grounds, or more. Some nights it was 30, and depending on what time mom and dad got home from work. But they really enjoyed it, and I received many compliments, I know the mayor did as well, on how great the spray grounds are for folks who don't have the use of a backyard, that are renting in town or whatever, or don't have a pool or access to a pool. It's great to go, the parents can sit there and watch, and have no fear of their child ever, God forbid, drowning, because of the fact that the spray grounds is so safe, and that can never happen. The children have a lovely time there, so it's a real safe environment. Basketball registration is going on, folks. Please go to the recreation center. Flyers, I've gone home to St. Leo's School. You won't see the child's backpack, but please, it's out there, it's being advertised. Registration is going on right now for basketball. We're trying to get ahead of the curve, to make some plans, some backup plans, if some other things fall through with usage of gymnasiums. So please get in so we can have every child accounted for. Also, next week, on September 23rd, we're going to have another movie, Under the Stars. It's Tangled. It's a great night out with the family. There'll also be concessions for sale, popcorn, candy, all that fun stuff. Bring your beach blankets, bring your chairs, and based on the weather, as you see all these guys are warmed up. I love the cold, so I wear shorts and these. But it's chilly tonight, but hopefully the weather will be good for us. And there's a rain date as well, but that's happening at the Recreation Center. And my last part of my report, the Chamber of Commerce. I've been talking about it quite a bit here, so is the other members of mayor and council. As everyone in the municipality knows by now, they have reestablished themselves. They are off and running very strong. There's a great group that have all joined. I understand weekly there is several new companies joining at all times, registering with the chamber. They are already being very aggressive. They're not taking a slow procedure here. They're moving quickly, doing a lot of homework. I want to commend their president, Mr. Mareka, and the board over at the chamber. They've been going out, reaching out to other municipalities, going to their meetings, having meetings with them. I believe last night they attended the Ridgewood Chamber of Commerce meeting, and I know they've talked with Fairlawn, they've talked with others in other communities, and as you heard here tonight, they're going to be putting we support putting out these recycle bins throughout the community that they'll be doing. I believe it's going to kick off in the spring. I'm not sure of the exact date, the drop dead date, but throughout various points of the town, Rosemont Park, Elmwood Park, English Head Park, Cherry Hill Park, Burrowfield, Gall Ave, maybe hopefully something to do by the schools, maybe, the firehouses, Borough Hall, and so forth. So you'll see these recycle centers around the community to help keep our community cleaner. We appreciate your support there in doing the bins. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. The Elmwood Park Health Department will be continuing to offer the free adult consultation and child health clinics to the residents in Elmwood Park. The next adult consultation clinic and free blood pressure screening will be held on September 20th, Tuesday morning from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at the private clinic room in the municipal building. This clinic is available for all adults from 18 years and older. No appointments required. The next child health care clinics, which also includes free immunizations for infants up to 18 years old, will be held on October 6th. It's a Thursday morning from 9:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. and on October 3rd from Monday evening from 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. Pediatrician registrars are on site, and the clinic is for well children without health insurance coverage and those not enrolled in New Jersey Family Care. The Elmwood Park Health continues to offer the vaccines offered from the AAR program at no charge during the next adult consultation clinic. These vaccines are available to any citizen of New Jersey, regardless of their insurance or not. And once again, this Elmwood Park Health is one of the few health departments in the state that offers this program. Right now, the Board of Health has only 2 of these vaccines. They're very limited right now. They're been inactive, the vaccine for prevention of meningitis, and the Tdap, which is prevention for tetanus, diphtheria, and whooping cough. Just to give you an idea, we had a health clinic this past Monday. 18 firemen came to get the vaccine for the tetanus, and 30 children came for the free immunization. So these clinics are working, and they're saving people money. The flu shots will be available on September 29th, 2 p.m. to 7
building. Free to participants 65 years and over, must provide a Medicare card, and $25 for vaccination for those without the Medicare Part B. Okay, the Oakland Park Courthouse is also holding a CMAC blood testing clinic that is tentatively scheduled for November 1st from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. for all residents. Pre-registration in person is required. That's for a fee of $25, and you will receive a comprehensive metabolic profile. And additional screening, the PSA screening can be performed at a clinic for additional fee of $35. As everyone knows, Mayor Council will list up by passing resolution sharing services with Saddlebrook. Saddlebrook Mayor Council also proposed sharing services with Elmwood Park. Basically, the original date was scheduled for September 1st. That was put on hold to October 1st due to the fact that we were hit with the hurricane and tropical storm. So Saddlebrook thought it would be better to hold off since there was quite a few incidents going on. That's basically we're anticipating yearly savings of the year of $50,000. And that's due to the fact that we'll be getting $25,000 from Saddlebrook. And we'll also incur additional savings by doing additional responsibilities by performing our own food inspections in Elmwood Park. We're also hoping to share the services with Saddlebrook will also provide an opportunity for us to pick up additional grant money due to the increased number of people being covered by our health department. Now also, I know we were talking about the flood. There is some assistance out there. It's New Jersey Flood Cleanup Assistance. Basically, it's for there's volunteers out there. It's from the volunteer organization Active in Disaster. To request assistance, you can please dial 211. And as everybody knows, there's still people out there that are still inundated, still flooded, and they need the whole help they can. They're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if anybody needs, can't see. Okay. But I do have these forms here. If anyone wants to pick them up, I'll put them out in front. And I also attended the fireman memorial on 9/11. It was very moving. It was very well attended, and you can tell no one's going to forget that event. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Goodwin. On my report, it's always great to be last. That's why I said just about everything already. But I do want to tell the public that's here and those who may be watching on TV at the Fusion. We are presently working on the Van Riper culvert. That's the last culvert we have in Elmwood Park that has to be enlarged, and they're doing that. Van Riper Avenue culvert is a portion of Van Riper Street just opposite the firehouse on the boulevard. So they're putting that in, and that's upward of $700,000 that the county is paying for. That should relieve a lot of the backup on the north side of Route 80. So once that's done, it should be done in December sometime. We should get more rapid flowing of the water from the northern end of the Flasher Brook. Secondly, some people complain about backups in their basements. Some people have put things in their basement that are illegal. If you have a toilet downstairs or anything else that will get water, make sure you have a shut-off valve that if you get a storm like this, you can shut it off and not have that water come into your basement. Secondly, I also would like to be redundant, but DPW police did a great job. DPW was out over the weekend also, doing overtime. They were down to about 11 or 12 men. We have about 17 men in our DPW. Some were on vacation because they had taken vacation. A couple of them were sick. 1 or 2 were hurt. So we had 11 to 12 men doing all this work. And my office is appreciative to the residents of the community. They understood the magnitude of this hurricane and the rain after that. They understood that people were having problems and that they waited their turn to have things collected and so forth. Totally, Elmwood Park didn't have a severe problem as some of the other communities such as Washington, Rochelle Park, where our clerk lives, Woodland Park, Little Falls. They were devastated. We got hit hardest along River Road. The river just came up and inundated some of those houses near Willow Street. the Sunoco station, and it shut off the road behind Marcal. So we had severe flooding from the State River. I was not in town during that time. I was on vacation, but I kept in touch with our police department, DPW. I was out of the country, and they did a fantastic job. Quite frankly, James, I don't know if I'm going out of the country again on any vacation, because every time I do, something happens, and I don't want that to happen again. But I was in touch with everybody, was going to hear everything that was happening, and they did a commendable job. One other thing, if you have some items that were destroyed, such as white goods, I'll read these things: refrigerators, air conditioners, washers, dryers, metal cabinets, TVs, computers. Garbage isn't going to take that. You have to call up the recycling coordinator, 201-796-1833. That is also my office. 201-796-1833. My secretary is Pat Burt. She will put it on the list, and we have a separate person who comes around and collects that. Our garbage collector will not pick those items up. So be aware that you have to call those things into her to have them picked up. Okay, so I do want to thank everybody involved. Mr. Conway did mention that he got water for the first time. Obviously, I've been getting water over the years. And then I had someone who lived on 20 Crescent in Cherry Hill section, which is on the hill. He got water. This gentleman got water in his basement, whether it was coming from neighbors or whatever, he got water. So I'm going to bring this up because, and I never do, but I was doing some campaigning and asking people if they got water. And I see one person say, oh, I had about 3 inches of the store, didn't have it. But somebody before that didn't have it. So I don't know what the rhyme or reason is for some people getting into the water and some people not getting into the water. But we didn't do as badly as some of the other communities in the Bergen State. At this point, I'd like to open up the meeting to the public. If there's anyone who'd like to speak, just come to the microphone, give your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Allison Revere, a teacher at the Elmwood Park High School. The Greener Corners Recycling Project began a year ago as a science assignment. My students worked diligently to implement this program in their town, and I would like to thank the mayor, council members, Mr. Kasmark, and the Chamber of Commerce for working together to show them that their efforts can truly make a difference.
Hello, my name is Valentina Fasolo. Thank you for completing our class project. It took a year, but we stayed with it. We just want to make this a better and cleaner town. Thank you.
And I'd like to thank you for initiating and working with the Chamber of Commerce to get this done. Should help us a lot. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who wishes to be here?
Good evening. My name is Richard Rudman, 1 Paul Court, Elmwood Park. First, I would like to thank the mayor, the council, and preceding councils, and others who may have been responsible for pushing to get the brooks cleared so that we had less of a problem with water this year. My neighbors and I would like to thank you all for this because Elmwood Park has had their problems as other towns as well. But Paul Court, we used to have a nice lake in the cul-de-sac, and it created havoc for people because the water was going to come into their houses. This year, the lake did not form, and I attribute that to the fact that the brooks were cleared, and hopefully the additional work will help other people that are having that problem. So much for the nice things.
Anyone else like to speak?
I'm sorry I'm late for this meeting, but I had other things to do. I understand you had some discussion about school taxes.
Yes.
With Mr. Rigatone. There must be a misconception as to what's happening here with the school taxes. When the school board passed a 0% increase in their budget, That is exactly what that meant, a 0% increase in their budget. Their budget runs from July 1st to June 30th. It happens to overlap the fiscal budget that the town has. So the taxes that are collected in 2010 reflect half a year of the school board 2010 to 2011, and the same thing for the following year. I went to talk to Mr. Moffett, the business administrator, and I have some figures here which I'd be glad to give to Mr. Rigatoni so that he would understand exactly why we said we had a 0% increase in the budget. The approved budget for the year 2011-2012 has $13,740,000 being collected in this year, and another $13,740,000 being collected next year. The fact that you have this overlap is what causes an actual apparent increase in the taxes that you're paying, but it is not because the school budget increased their taxes. Their budget, I'm sorry. And this apparently does not sit well with some people. They think that they are pulling the wool over people's eyes. That is not the case. And I would be, like I said, I'd be glad to give them information to Mr. Rigatoni so he can clarify this. I did it myself graphically using assumed numbers to come up to show the same thing. But now that I have the actual numbers from Mr. Moffett, I think that would be the one to use to explain to people. Moving on to the next item. In today's Sharper, see an article about passing a bond anticipation note. I've never heard of this happening. Why do we have to float a bond to run projects that are supposedly in the budget, which is supposed to be driven by the taxes we collect from the people? Why do we need to get extra money and pay interest on it?
I'll let you clarify.
Mr. Rubin, which project are you talking about? I didn't have the opportunity to read that article.
This is the one that says you passed a $5.9 million bond anticipation note
Correct.
at your August 18th meeting.
Correct.
And this article, unless you're a genius, to try and figure out what it is saying is, to me, incomprehensible. And maybe it's the writer of the article.
Through you, Mayor, I didn't write the article, so.
No, I know you didn't.
The situation is, Mr. Rubin, there are projects that are larger than we can plan to put into the municipal budget. For example, our road resurfacing program, which is a yearly endeavor. As opposed to budgeting those dollars, we do budget 5% of the down payment for a bond initiative when we do plan out our yearly budget. But larger projects are not funded directly through the budget. They're funded through bond ordinances, which we periodically introduce and maybe on average 5 to 6 a year, depending on what projects the mayor and council decide to take on. As we do that, eventually we get to a point where bond council advises the municipality that we have to go out and sell bonds to fund those programs, to fund those projects. So that is a compilation of bonds, ordinances that have been passed over a series of years, and now we're doing the mechanical piece to be able to fund those initiatives. So that's not just one project.
And how does
That's a series of projects over a series of years.
I think I understand that. But how does this eventually get paid by the taxpayers? How much is that costing the taxpayers that we don't see right now in the tax budget?
Well, it's not necessarily a true statement to say that you don't see it. As part of the municipal budget, we fund a line item relative to debt service.
Right.
It's sort of like if you take out a loan to put an addition on your house, you're going to pay that off over a series of years rather than in 1 year, but you budget for it each month. In our case, we budget for it each year. It's the same theory.
So that's all already budgeted?
The debt service is budgeted and we pay it off as we go each year.
But is this 5.9 million included in this year's budget, or is that, so you have to add that to that budget?
That's, what the 5.9 is a mechanical process that we go through with our bond council in order to sell the bonds, in order to fund the project. Follow that logic? Because you're
When is it-
borrowing that money in order to fund those projects.
I know, but when is it getting paid for?
It's getting paid for on a yearly basis, it's budgeted for. The debt service is budgeted each year. Not the entire amount, but a piece of the debt is paid for each year through our municipal budgets.
And this goes on ad infinitum, or is it like a 20-year
I
type of
mean,
bond?
there are some municipalities, they are few and far between, but there are some municipalities that are operating without debt at this point. That's becoming more and more difficult to do, based on the fact that you're trying to keep up with your infrastructure needs. Sewer lines need to be replaced, roads need to be resurfaced, parks need to be upgraded, whatever it happens to be. It's much more difficult for a town to operate without any debt than it used to be, simply because you're constrained by budget caps and other factors.
Okay, good, thank you. The last item that I'd like to just address briefly is the fact that there seems to be a lot of misinformation going about the referendum that the school board has agreed to, but is going to be voted on by the public. I wish I could extend it, I can extend an invitation to the whole council and the mayor to come to a school board meeting and listen to what it is that they're planning to do. Instead, all I hear is, oh, I recommend against this, I recommend against this. This is not a good time to do it. It's never a good time to do it. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to visit somebody in Bloomfield, and I drove by Bloomfield High School football field. New turf field put on, 8-lane track put on by Bloomfield. Now, if they can do it, why can't we? And that isn't the only thing that's covered in that referendum. There are repairs being needed to be done in various schools that have not been done because in the past the school budget never passed and the monies weren't there to do it. Now a wall is falling down in Gilbert Avenue. That needs to be fixed. There are other things needing to be fixed. The enrollment is growing. I'm not here to defend the school board, but you have to understand why this is happening. And that's all I'd like to say. Thank you.
Mayor, may I make a few comments to Mr. Rubin, please, if I may? Mr. Rubin, I just would like to share with you, I know you're involved, you're at the Board of Ed meetings. I have gone to a few of the meetings, 2 of them already. We may have seen each other there about the presentation. And one of the biggest misconceptions is that this mayor and council at no time has ever extended the olive branch. And I want to say that it was a year ago last October. I sat here in the mayor and council chamber. I served as council president last year. And depending on the gentleman who writes the article, sometimes I still am council president. Well, what I'd like to say to you is, at that meeting, I had mentioned to the mayor and council, the mayor was not there, he was having his first grandson was being born, so he was down at the hospital, so I got to play mayor that night. And I then told the mayor and council that were there, you can check the notes, it's all in there, that this was this big thing coming down the pike. There was a member of the Board of Education actually at that work meeting, and she said to my face, in front of everybody, because she had to speak at the end, there was no such project in the hopper. Now, I will tell you that that project was already in the design phase, because people in this community saw those plans before we even did or heard about it. So when we heard that, we had asked, and we were told there was nothing in the hopper.
Who did you ask?
Who did I ask?
Yes.
I informed the mayor and council, and there was a Board of Ed member in the room, and they said there was no such plan. I said there's a big plan to build a new stadium, to build a new field, turf, all this stuff, and take over the recreation sports programs. There was that the Bombers. No, wait, at that meeting, I also said that the Bombers would be leaving and becoming the Gladiators. That was all denied. That is not true. And here we are today, you're saying we're not interested in caring or you didn't use those words, but we're not giving it a fair shot. As a matter of fact, the mayor and council on July 11th at a work meeting said, let's send a letter to the board president and ask her to have a meeting. They took, I believe, the month of July off, or it was in August, or if they're going to meet to the end of August, then if we could have a meeting just with the mayor and council, and just with them, with the members, the elected members of the governing body, their body. To this day, Mr. Clerk, we haven't received response? No. So no response, Mr. Rutherford, from July 11th to today. No response from the President of the Board of Education.
Was the superintendent copied on that letter? If the superintendent was copied on that letter, you would have gotten a response.
Exactly, and,
Ms. Rutherford, excuse me. Wait till your husband's finished in October.
Yeah, I am finished.
But Mr. Rutherford,
Yeah.
whether he was copied on it or not, we wanted to meet with the Board of Education. And we still haven't.
the point I'm trying to make.
They're elected officials.
Without our administrator.
Please, Ms.
Well, then
Rutherford.
That's it.
we could have received correspondence back saying we will not meet without our, to this day, we haven't received any communication.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Rutherford?
Arlene, do you want to say now, what you
Okay. Anyone else who wishes to hear?
Explain that.
Ms. Rutherford, we need you at the library. Anyone else who wishes to be heard? No one else wishes to be heard?
Yeah, please.
Mr. Nestori? Should we go for coffee, George?
Huh?
How long will it be?
I'll address what has to be addressed.
Okay.
Now, as far as the school board is concerned,
Mr. Story, could you state your name
in all fairness, our school system, I'm sorry, George Nestoris, 2 Sabo Court. As far as our school system is concerned, we are one of the lower ratios of amount of dollars spent per pupil. And that's a fact, and you can look that up. Now, over the years, you could probably count on one hand how many times the budget has passed. And you can count on one hand whenever the capital outlay portion of the budget passed, you can count on one hand over decades. We always had a major problem passing capital improvements. So when things start degrading in the Mid-Atlantic, School Association comes in and evaluates school systems. If we get a negative, do you know what that does to your property value? And it's based on your structures, it's based on a whole bunch of things of which we have to address. We have one of the most decrepit football or stadium conditions that you can have in any school system you go to. They don't even want to run on our track, which is not a track, it's a dirt thing, it's with rocks. And you're supposed to be proud of your system. And when a system decays, it's got to be taken care of. And being negative about the school system is not good for the community. Okay? We have a superintendent that's a hard worker. He's bringing the grade point ratios up, and that's good for the community. So I would very strongly suggest that being negative with the school system is not a good thing at this point. Whether they have problems with the Education Association as far as money is concerned, that's a different story. But I'm talking about capital outlay and improvements. I like to say, we have a lot of rentals in this town, and unfortunately, we never did a master plan we can eliminate some of them, or at least reduce the total amount of multifamily dwellings we have. And the more multifamily dwellings, the more absentee owners you have, the more your town decays. And that's a fact. It's not, a conjecture, it's a fact. And you come on Sabo Court, we have a couple of properties. One is a condemned property, and that property is in disgrace and decrepit conditions. And what I would strongly recommend, if they don't take care of it, I would strongly recommend that the mayor and council have landscapers come in on a periodic basis, clean it up, and bill the estate, which is owned by the bank right now, and have them pay it when there's a closing. That can be done. And there's other absentee landlords where the conditions always go to the maximum before they do anything. One very strong suggestion, I brought this up in the past, and I brought this up for years, and Mr. Moore is very strongly opposed to it, is have resident parking. Resident parking will cut down on illegal apartments. It's a fact that it will do it. It's been very successful in other communities. I don't know why we don't. It'll cut down on how many illegal students we have in the school system, how much garbage we pay for, how much sewage we pay for that's being processed. I mean, this is a fact, something that can be very easily done. In the library board, how much of the surplus do we have?
About $1.2 million.
How much?
$1.2 million.
Why do we have that much?
They saved it over the years.
I know, but why do they, are they an institution that does finances?
Yes, they are an autonomous authority. They have saved that money. They want to do any construction or renovation.
But in days like we are right now, when we need it in other areas, and I'm going to point out one area that we need it more than anything, I don't think they should be holding $1.2 million in escrow. I don't know how much, interest they're getting, but I don't think they should have that kind of a surplus. Now the brook, I can honestly say, the brook did not back up as badly as it had been in the past. And I think Mr. Redmond said the right thing. As long as we constantly patrol and clean the brook. Huh?
I didn't hear that.
Well, you can't hear it?
No, I just want to.
Oh, you mean like, no, I'm going to, if I'm going to throw an accolade when it needs it.
I'm ready to catch it.
Okay, and catch it. And you weren't a good ball player. Anyhow, but it's not over. I know you're doing the culvert, like you said, on Van Riper, and that should, but if it's not flowing freely through, from Kip Avenue into Lanza Avenue diversion in Garfield, it's going to back up. So that wall has to be taken care of at all times. That's a very critical area. One thing I'd like to bring out, now there was an article in the paper, the Community News, on August 11th, and there was a big meeting with Senator Gordon between several communities, Saddlebrook, Lodi, Garfield, Rochelle Park, a few other towns. So, and we weren't there. Why was this? It was pertaining to flooding.
Probably because they're talking about Saddle River.
Yeah, but flooding is flooding. Whether it's Saddle River, the Safe River, or a brook, it's flooding.
I don't remember ever getting an invitation to that. But basically, it's Saddle River. All those towns are about Saddle River.
Well, I would strongly recommend that you take exception to the fact that you weren't contacted.
No, it's not. The point is, we have Fleischer Brook. We have the Safe River. Those towns have the Saddle River running through.
Yeah, but Saddlebrook, Fairlawn also have Fleischer's Brook, and they feed into us. So, and Garfield has Fleischer Brook, so I'm sure we could have...
Fleischer Brook and Garfield, they wouldn't care at this point. They have the diversion there, and all the water goes into the diversion right out to the
I know, that was one of the very diversion we had back in...
What we'd like to do is go to Garfield again and see if we can get community development money and widen the brook south of the Cape Avenue.
Well, talking to Tom Dutch is a very progressive, progressive politically, progressive as far as getting things done. person. He's done a lot of changes in Garfield, and for the better for Garfield. And he's willing to work with us as far as the Lines Avenue Denver. And that thing, gravity feeds right down, that should be kept clean. One thing I want to tell you, I brought this up, I don't know how many times over the years. I want everyone to realize what we're doing here. You're talking nickel and dimes. Like you said, the budget for the Board of Education went up $500,000. And borough, municipal budget went up $300,000, because basically that's what Roy said. In fact, the ratio there of 500-300 wasn't bad for the Board of Ed, based on the ratio of what should be with Board of Ed versus municipalities throughout the communities around us. But anyhow, I got data here on how much we paid Passaic Valley Sewage Commission from January 30th, 06 to July 21st, 11 was $19,062,433. I'm telling you right now, without a doubt, that because our sewer systems and our pumps are archaic and never been addressed properly, a good 25% of this, maybe even more, was wastewater that should not have entered into the sewer system and been processed, and we had billed for. That's about $5 million over 4 years, 5 years. Do you realize what that means to the municipality? And we're talking who gets $100,000, $200,000. We can do a tremendous amount of good. It's good business practice, and we should do this immediately. If you want to save tremendous tax dollars, save the community backups whenever there's a tremendous amount of rain entering into our sewer system, which ends up being metered after it backs up into the houses, and the pumps can't handle it because they're archaic. You can do a tremendous good for the community. Now you can get the camera from what used to be, not a few years ago, to police the sewer lines, and that won't cost anything. You just have to put your name on the list and request it. You can use the borough engineer for that. So talk to Pete Tenkate and have the camera designated to go through, so you know exactly where the breaches are, which is probably a good portion, and find out what has to be fixed, come up with specs, go out on bid, and get it fixed. And I guarantee you, even if you bond it, the money you'll gain by not having metered water versus what you will pay on a yearly basis will be probably a positive cash flow. And the community will be better for it. And I would very strongly tell you guys to have this done. Look into it. It's a very good business thing for the town, and it's very safe for the town. It's good for the homeowners. But I would strongly recommend, and this is just a picture. You just have to do a little more homework. Get Pete Tenkate involved, and I'll guarantee you save the town a tremendous amount of money, even if you budget it. I mean, even if you bond it. Whatever you're paying in bond money, you'll get back in not having metered water. So I don't know if you're going to do anything about it. I'm bringing this up. I'll bring it up again in a month or two. I spoke to Lou about it. He knows how I feel. And hopefully we have better minds prevail on this. We're losing millions and millions of dollars based on the fact that water is entering into the sewer system and it's being metered by the Passaic Valley Sewage Commission. And please look into it and get those pumps fixed. How much does it cost us to have a DPW guy standing down by the pumps?
wasn't necessarily, the pumps did not fail us this year. Every pump was working properly through all the storms and rain and everything else. And we did bring in extra pumps to help us out because the rain coming in was just so strong. So
I was told that the pumps failed. That's why there was raw sewage. And that's why we got the phone calls.
There was a problem with sewage when the log hit the pipe in Sage River and broke it. Sewage went into the river. Coming down the river, the log hit.
Hey, but that, I'm talking about leaving Elmwood Park. Just make sure the pumps are working and they're up to date and they're strong enough to handle the volume, and look into correcting the encroachment of rainwater into our sewer system, which is causing us a tremendous amount of money. Okay? And I would like to know, you know, if you're going to do anything about it, are you going to look into it? Or are you just going to laugh it off, or just hopefully, you know, say, I'll see you later, and that's it, nothing happens. You know, little, in our business, action items, you don't make the action items, what happens? You're in trouble. Right? So I think there should be several action items made. There should be a study made on resident parking. Should be a study made, not study, enough with the studies. It should be done. We know it's a positive thing for the town. Sewer system is a tremendous thing that you should look into. And that would improve. And you'll get a positive cash flow. You'll get much more money. Plus the other thing is, as we go downstream and we have what we have in the apartments, and they have what do you call it, tax appeals, and won every one of them. That costs us millions and millions of dollars because they want tax appeals based on the fact that they're not making what they should be making over there. And you got to put their feet to the fire. Now, I understand the state is going to say no more state inspections, which was an automatic every 5 years. They had to come up and address every 20% of the apartment complex. Is that gone?
As far as I know, they haven't.
They haven't? Or in other words, it's still in effect? Rich?
They're still doing it. We're not doing it.
Okay. But I think we should make sure and
We
look
used
at
to
knocking down.
do it. They took it away from us, and now they don't want to do it. So if we have to do it, we'll just charge them for life.
And I just keep it rolling because that's the only way we can police it. I mean, knocking down those garages too, and making that parking in there. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Story.
Yeah.
One question. You mentioned $19 million. You said you guaranteed that 25% of that.
I didn't guarantee it. I said I think so. I think there could be more.
How did you determine that?
Because I read articles, okay?
Well, you have to determine that.
I read articles.
Is that the data that you have to determine this about? I mean, you look at the over that 5-year period?
Well, if you look at the breakdown, and I was trying to get this from Mr. Rigatano, I was trying to get how many gallons of processing over this same, specific period of time. Then we can find the peaks and valleys on the gallons. We can find exactly how much we pay per gallon, and we can see where the high points are when the water comes. These are the studies you guys should be making, engineers should be making. And it's a very simple thing. It's an engineering, very simple thing we can do. You know what I'm saying? I didn't get that from Mr. Rigatano. But carry it through, find out for every increment of time frame that I got here, I'll give you a copy of this, and find out how many gallons are processed. We know when the high water, rains and storms come, and we can equate the high water marks with the amount of gallons processed, and that'll tell you right there, that'll give you a great idea of how much you're, it's a simple thing. Okay? And then from then you can tell how much of the delta is from the water and how much is the real stuff. And then how much, we can't determine how much is due to illegal apartments. That's another ballgame.
Anyone else who wishes to speak?
May I just like to say something if I may? I'm sorry. I'd like you to address something that George said. George, I want to share something with you, me personally, sitting here as a councilman. There's a minute, again, talk about misconceptions. I can speak for myself. I think there's, my concerns as a current elected official for the taxpayers of Elmwood Park and the residents of Elmwood Park, all the residents who are all taxpayers. I have no doubt that Mr. Tomko and his staff and the teachers and everybody is doing everything in their ability to educate our children of our community. Where I find the frustrations, since I've been sitting up here, I've had to sit on 2 failed budgets. I can't help a budget, a school board budget pass. All I can do is push my yes button, and that's that. But in the 2 that I had to sit on, we've sat with the first one I sat on when it failed, when I first year in office. Mr. Casapula was there, and almost all the members of the Board of Education. First question we asked them was, your budget failed. Is there anything in this budget, is there anything here that you absolutely have to have? What do you need out of this? What areas, if any, could be cut? What could be cut? Nothing. It all has to stay. With no answer given, nothing. Just was bluntly put right out to us, it all must stay in there. We asked, there's nothing that can come out of here? Absolutely not. We need it all. We made a cut. The following year, it failed again. And at that time, we had put forth, we met with our auditors and so forth, and Mr. Birch came back with, listen, we have to be very careful here. So we were doing our due diligence. We have to be very careful here. The school at that time had very little surplus. So of course we didn't want them not to have surplus, because there must be something else there. Not to mention, let's face it, you've done budgets, I'm sure, there's always a little fudge here, a little fudge there, okay. So, you do what you have to do. So, at that point, we had on the table, we were going to cut $800,000. There was supposed to be a meeting. This may seem repetitious, but many have heard me say this. We had a meeting. Later in the day, I was told, oh, you don't need to. The board is going to accept the cut. This is not the cut. We're not going to have any kind of negotiation, no talk, no nothing. We ended up having like a little meeting at the end. It was just more of a formality. But I did go to that meeting, and I asked the board president then and some of the members that were in attendance, is there anything that you can keep in this that you need before we decide to make this cut? No, we're going to accept the $800,000 cut. I found it very surprising. And that takes me to the current day. Now, the last 2 budgets have passed, has passed, so we don't have to touch that. But this is what I find frustrating. A lot of it, and I believe that the repairs need to be made to the school, to the structures, to the buildings. When you look at the pictures of the Gilbert Ave, what's happening over there, that just did not start happening last year. And that didn't start happening the year before that. You talk about the decay, that's been happening. Now I understand maybe some of those projects were in the referendum the first time, and then that failed, and then it takes some out. But that's where, when the two meetings I sat on that failed, why didn't someone say then? That was the chance to say, look, please, if you feel you need to make a cut, and it's going to be, you're telling us that you're going to cut $800,000. Over at the Gilbert Ave, we have the whole facade that's facing Spidell or whatever. We started to decay, we have water damage, we're going to have to, repointing all this. That's when you say, look, you at least leave us $400,000 so we can get that fixed. That's what just me personally, George. It's not a debate. That's my frustration.
That's okay. Okay, listen, I don't want to debate here.
No.
He's just giving his counsel remarks. I don't want to.
The only thing I have to say is, it's a different ballgame now with Tomko.
Okay.
That's a rule, one thing.
Thank you. We can't hear you.
Well, he's 2-0. He's got 2 budgets.
Michael Scalzo at 264 Kip Avenue, Elmwood Park. I want to thank the mayor and council for all the work that was done during this hurricane. I appreciate it. I had 5 pumps working in my house, 2 outside and 3 inside. The fact that we were fortunate because the power never went off. Had it gone off, we'd have been evacuated because the water would have poured through my back door. And the mayor remembers we used to have a flood committee who was very instrumental in getting you elected as mayor way back then. None of these guys up here ever heard of it. I said to you many a times that the dam in Garfield has to be lowered. that would eliminate or lower our water table. If you called me one time and you said, Mike, we finally got they're going to lower the dam. The company across the water, or across the river, that uses the water, went to court, and the judge saw fit to leave the dam alone. You remember that?
Yes, I do.
Now, can we go back again and argue? I mean, you see what happened to
Have to
River.
go back and argue with the state.
You see what happened to River Road, all those houses that flooded? Those 2 cinder blocks down would make a big difference. And I'm not an engineer of any kind.
Right.
You know, if we could get some help like that,
We
it
can
would.
try doing that. One of my concerns, not one of my concerns, one of the concerns that they may have is if we reduce the dam here, what's going to happen with Lyndhurst, where they were flooded again, all that water would be going down there. So, but we can try.
But it would be worth a try.
It certainly would help us if that dam were.
Definitely. It'd lower the water table in Elmwood Park, no question about it. The other point I'd like to bring out. Every day I pick up my granddaughter from St. Leo's. I park on Market Street, and opposite the school, there's a yellow line that's painted maybe 100 feet, 200 feet. And all the parents park there along that side. You know, and I'm wondering why the police don't pull them away from there, because I find people actually parking almost on the crosswalk. Now, you know, I hate to think we have to wait till a student is hurt by a car.
We can have Mr. Bonsino.
You know, I'd appreciate that. Because if you remember, Bob Kasai was instrumental in getting us the amber lights.
Yes.
And the sign there says 25 miles an hour.
Yes.
Nobody does 25 miles an hour. I sit there a half hour before the school is dismissed, and the cars and trucks go flying by. They don't even see the sign, or do they see the amber lights blink. And I did one time see a police car at the school end with the lights blinking in and out, and everybody was just crawling along. Is it not possible that we can have a car there for less than an hour?
We'll have to see.
So Scott, are you talking about the north side of Market Street, opposite the school, where the parking usually is?
Yeah.
5 minutes.
Well, one time I saw a police officer move them all out of there.
I'll speak to the police chief about it.
I'd appreciate it. Another point.
Mike, if we can limit it as much as possible, we only have 5 minutes.
Okay. We're talking about the sewer system being overtaxed. If you ride up and down streets in Elmwood Park and look at these mausoleums that they built, every cellar, every garage rather, is under the house. And the garage floor is lower than the street. Right in front of the 2-car garage, there's a big drain. Where does that water go?
Shouldn't be going into the sewage.
Sewer system.
Shouldn't go into our sanitaries.
Pardon?
Shouldn't go into our sanitaries.
I know it doesn't. I mean, it shouldn't. But it's got to go somewhere, and that's where it's going, because the water's not going to run uphill. Thank you.
Thank you. No one else wishing to be heard, I'll close the public portion.
Yeah, real quick.
Okay, real quick, so that I'm happy for you to take.
How we doing, gentlemen? My name's Don Grabowski, 187 Lee Street. Just to add to Mr. Story, we was talking about the sanitary lines and the flood committee, the meetings that I had. I did attend them in '07. Guys helped me out a little bit. As of rainwater, I think I spent enough on my house to keep that out, tens of thousands of dollars. In '07, you told me to put a one-way check valve in, and that's all well and done. But now you feel like a prison to your house. You can't use any waste lines in your house because then it shuts it out from the outside. Now when sewage starts rising, of course, with the amount of rain we had, it starts coming into people's houses. And what you told me in '07 is that the lines are cracked and excessive repair is needed. That it takes on rainwater, which I understand what Mr. Story was talking about. We pay tax on it. And the pump shut down, which I've seen on Boulevard and Market, 2 small pumps. We got to go Fletcher in for Market Street. and we were pumping the sewage out into the street, which is not too good. But now, I'm still held like hostage to my house, because I can't use any of my waste lines. I gotta tell my tenants not to use the waste lines because either I got the one-way check valve or I don't. Either I get it in my house or I keep it out. So, I don't know what to tell you. This really should be addressed. I'm not the only one in town. My next door neighbor, she's not fortunate enough to do what I did. She got almost 8 inches of sewage in the basement. That's one reason why our tenants moved out. So they were actually moving during the storm, and thank God she had a nice tenant. They had to get everything out of the basement at 4 o'clock in the morning, ring my doorbell to give them a hand, because they started taking on sewage water, shooting out of her shower and bathroom in the basement. Now, that's a hell of a way to live.
You got 1 minute, and we have to go.
I just wanted to add to what the story said. That's a hell of a way to live in your house, where especially you got tenants, which is paying part of my mortgage. Is that I got to tell my tenants you can't use any of the waste lines because the one-way check valve is closed. I'm actually installing one as an alarm to tell me when it's closed, so I know. Because we don't know if we get 3 inches, 4 inches of rain, what's going to happen. So I really think that should be addressed with these pump stations, sanitary lines, and have them scoped and everything. You can find out where the damage is and maybe have them done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it. We just, anybody here on the council?
Yes, Mayor.
What do we have, a minute? 2 minutes?
Sure, just on the sewer infiltration that you're talking about, I'll bet you 50% of that is illegal someplace. Right now, Scott Cars is checking, but to get to somebody's house to put a dye in there and see where the lines lead, you can have a seepage tank, like the gentleman said, all those negative slope driveways that we outlaw right now, that down slope driveways, or a seepage tank. So we know half of them can't work at that work, and half of them don't work in that. But that water is going into your sewer system. The amount of infiltration that we got over this drainage system, you would have to have open lines completely to get that much water. It's impossible. I guarantee you, and I would bet against you on it, that you'll find it's 90% is from illegal sump pumps and sump pumps that were inspected working properly, dumping outside, but when they found that there was no place to go, they're in the slop sink going into your sewer system.
That could
So,
be.
no, but the whole.
No, I'm back and forth,
I'm just saying, that's part of it. But just let me get one more thing. There is a study going on. A study going on in the county right now for the joint effort to eliminate flooding in Bergen County. Saddle River happened to be in a separate group with Garfield in that. They're going to work their way down to Flagship Fork and everything else. There's a committee together, and I tried to get on that committee, but it was too late. But there is a full-fledged committee looking at the total county. Another thing about the schools, no one is negative on the school system. No one in this council is negative on the school system. I like to see our tax dollars spent properly. When you spent $40 million 2 years ago, and you elected 43,000 square feet of repairing the roof, I have a problem with that. I have a serious problem with that. Because that should be done first. And I do also have a problem with the fields, because I said, can't you look and see what we got and we improve it first? All right, that's it.
You could do a wrap.
Okay, how much time do we have?
1.5.
1.5 minutes. Let me just say this, please, and then 1.5, I'll pull you in the show. Mr. Nestori, we did rezone almost a quarter of the town to eliminate 2-family houses that you were talking about. I guess you never heard about that. And number two, many, we have the community development money put in and replaced sewers all through the area that you live in over the years. So that's being done, and that has been done. May I have a motion to adjourn?
We need to go into executive.
All right.
We need to go into executive session.
Whereas the Open Public Meetings Act of 1975, Chapter 231, is the exclusion of public from meeting certain circumstances, and whereas the public body is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist, whereas the governing body wishes to discuss potential litigation, 874 River Drive on the Park, and it will be kept amongst the matter about the confidentiality of the government order requires that confidentiality.
Motion to approve. So moved by Mr. Pacino, second by Mr. Catalano, all in favor? Opposed, so ordered. Motion to adjourn. Mr. Pacino, Mr. Conway, all in favor? So ordered. Thank you.